My name's Erin McKean, and I'm the founder of Reverb Technologies. We make the online dictionary wordnik.com, and I like to joke that as the founder, my job is to do everything that we haven't hired somebody smarter to do yet. And I really like the work we do, which is basically we make GPS for English. We have a big word graph, and we use that to do text-based recommendations. And in my spare time, I like to sew and write about dresses.
So always use a sewing machine and
Sewing machine.
write about dresses.
Uh-huh. At Reverb, our mission is to create meaningful interactions with text, to provide a layer of useful information everywhere that there's text. And that might be through lookup, through wordnik.com, or through the 12,000 developers who use the Wordnik API, or to all the people who use the Reverb for Publishers widget on their blogs, or for people who use our Reverb iPad app. We want to let people leverage the information that's inherent in the text in terms of words and concepts, and use that to find out things that they didn't even know they wanted to know.
So like a serendipity.
Yes, so we think that every single word is a doorway or a gateway to a whole realm of knowledge, and you should be able to use them like stepping stones to get where you want. So when you're reading something, what you read next shouldn't be just determined by what other people have read, or by someone paying for that next thing to be there, but also based on the meaning inherent in the text. If I could do that, if I could make any change instantaneously, I would explode all the books in the universe into their constituent words and then alphabetize them, right? So I would take every single sentence for every single word and turn that into a dictionary that was the same size as the universe of books. If you think that every time a word is used, its meaning is slightly altered, then you could take every sentence and rank them in a spectrum of meanings. Pick out the sentences that were the best exemplars for any word's meaning. And so you could have a universal instant dictionary that would be available from any text. So that's what I would do.
I was just thinking, the entry for like Z or A should be like million pages.
Yes, but it would also include a filter, so you could just get the right one at the right time, but that you would know for any word every possible way it could be used. Oh, that's a really good question. Let me think for a minute. I think it's too much to fit in one word. It's kind of hard. But I think that each word is like a node in the graph of its language. So you can say, from this word, how many hops am I away from any other idea? And that space, that graph, that number of hops, is the interesting part. So for example, do you know the word kaleidoscope? Like the toy?
Yeah, the one you just sort of, yeah. Which one you're talking
about. Once you know the word kaleidoscope, that word could lead you to a different thing, which is a teleidoscope with a T. And a teleidoscope doesn't have the little colored bits in it that make the picture. Instead, it has a lens that has lots of facets. And so you just point it at something, and whatever's in the environment turns into the beautiful picture. And so that word, you can use that word as a metaphor, in that if you have the lens, then anything you point it at becomes a beautiful picture. And I think with words it's the same way, that once you have a word, it becomes a lens that lets you see every word that's connected to it, if you have the mechanism to do so. I think that in 2033, people won't think of a dictionary as being a separate thing over here. They'll think of finding out about a word as a function that's available everywhere. So, now when you're using a web browser, there's an address. You can usually click on it and get a map. And so you should be able to, in 2033, any word, just interact with it and get the stack of meanings that are inherent to that word, or just the meaning that's appropriate to the context that you're in. So I think the days of people going to a big book and flipping through it would be gone, and it would just be a habit that you would have. You wouldn't have to go some separate place. It would be integrated everywhere.
It's sort of like a dictionary software on a Mac, or as you tap it, the definition comes out, some of them including like Wikipedia entries.
Yes, but I wouldn't think of it like those are very discrete containers of data. I would think of it more as a service that was constantly updated, like satellite weather, right? You're not going to a static repository of weather. You're checking like, where are you right now? And what day and time and hour is it, and then what's the weather? And so what text are you in right now, and what's the weather of the language? What does this word mean in the context of where you are? Instead of just a lookup, it would be much more dynamic. For instance, let's say that you're reading a tweet, and there's a slang word in there that you've never seen before. And it would not necessarily be in a dictionary because it's so new. You could click on it and you could see, oh, well, here are a bunch of other uses of it that might give you a better idea of what the word means. And you could also see maybe a little graph that says, wow, this word has gotten way more popular in the last 2 days. So that you could say, oh, okay, well, this is new slang, and if I use it, then I'm going to look hip. Or you could see that the demographic of people who are using this word is mostly, say, 13-year-old girls. So maybe you don't want to use that word because you're not a 13-year-old girl. And so you can get a better feeling for the weather around that word. Like, what do you need to know to be able to understand that word in context? I'll take any excuse to write about words in dictionaries and how they should act and be made in the future. And also, Brian and Hugh reached out to me, and I just have a really deep and sincere admiration for everything those two guys have done. So basically, I jumped at the chance.
Good. How did you feel when you found out the book was being translated into Japanese?
Oh, when I found that the book was being translated into Japanese, I thought, that is so cool. I mean, every writer wants their ideas to be as widely read as possible.
So, one of the characteristics of a so-called good book is it's read by a wide variety of people and for a long period of time. And in your opinion, how important this book is?
Well, I think it sounds immodest to say that I think it's a really important book, but everybody else's pieces were very important. I think that when something is as everyday and ordinary as a book, the more people are familiar with it, the harder it is for them to think about it in a new way. So that's why I thought the future of the book was important, to break people out of what they thought a book was, to let them have the opportunity to reimagine it.
So it's sort of like a guide to, like think outside of the
book.
Brain.
Yes, it's for people to think outside of the book.
So the last question is a request, but if you can hold the book and
I'd
give a
love
little message for Japanese readers.
Oh, message for Japanese readers.
Can you? Yeah, both Japanese and English one.
Oh, nice. That's the Japanese one in front.
And can you speak towards the camera, please?
Sure. I think that if you're interested in books, you will find this book extremely interesting. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.